The cockpit is yelling at him, hydraulic pressure falling, fuel needle twitching near empty. His radio's been dead long enough that silence feels normal now. Zlatan Crnalić keeps the battered J-21 Jastreb glued to the terrain, cutting through valleys like the hills might hide him, low enough to see the lines on the ridges, low enough that one mistake ends it anyway. Then he hears the sound. Not a warning tone, not a call on the radio, just that clean, heavy roar behind him, the kind every Bosnian Serb pilot learns to recognize fast. An F-16. It flashes past his canopy so close he can see the missiles still sitting on the wings. For a split second, it's almost calm, clinical, like a demonstration. Then the American circles back. Crnalić's options collapse down to one move: climb, get altitude, give himself a chance to eject before the missile hits. His hand finds the canopy emergency handle, wraps tight. He's waiting for the flash, the punch, the end. The F-16 settles in behind him, perfectly lined up, a clean shot. Crnalić catches himself counting without meaning to. 3, 2, nothing. No impact, no explosion. Instead, the F-16 eases up alongside, matching speed like it's effortless. Wingtip to wingtip now, close enough to feel unreal, maybe 20 feet. Crnalić turns his head and looks across the gap, through two canopies, 2 layers of glass and glare. The American pilot is looking right back. The hand comes up, not waving, not pointing, a salute. Clean, formal, held in place for a long 3 seconds. Then the F-16 rolls away and disappears. Crnalić stays frozen, with his hand still locked on the ejection handle, trying to understand what just happened. 6 hours earlier, 6 pilots had volunteered for a mission everyone understood could be a one-way trip. 3 of them never made it home. Morning briefing room, February 28, 1994. The plan is simple on paper. Hit a weapons factory inside the NATO no-fly zone. Get in, drop, get out. 6 men put their names on it anyway. Ranko Vukmirović, the flight lead. Calm, methodical. The kind of pilot who checks his work twice, even when the checklist feels like muscle memory. Goran Zaric on his wing. Mikerević and Pesic paired together. Crnalić, the youngest, flying with his usual partner. They all know the aircraft they're taking. J-21 Jastrebs. Older jets, built for ground attack, built in another era. No radar warning receiver, no countermeasures, no defensive systems worth mentioning, nothing that chirps when someone locks you up. Nothing that spits flares when a missile is on the way. Top speed, roughly 500 miles an hour. The F-16s enforcing the no-fly zone can cruise faster than that. Someone tries a joke, half-hearted, like a reflex. Nobody bites. Vukmirović looks around the room. Any questions? Silence. They're not confused. They're doing the math. The factory needs to be hit. Somebody has to fly it. And if NATO fighters show up, the outcome isn't a mystery. Crnalić notices Mikerević messing with his wedding ring, just turning it over and over, like he's trying to wear a groove into the metal. The briefing ends. Chairs scrape. Helmets get picked up. They walk out to the aircraft without much to say, because there isn't much to say. About 50 miles away, 2 F-16s are on what's supposed to be another routine patrol. Robert Wright and Stephen Allen. Call signs Wilbur and Yogi. Same airspace, same altitude blocks, same long stretches where the most exciting thing is a fuel check. Then the radio pops. Black Flight, you have 6 bogeys, BRAA 320 for 5-2 at 7,000, flanking. Wright glances at the radar. 6 returns, low and slow. He keys the mic. Copy. They bank toward the intercept. Allen catches them first on the HUD. You see those old Yugos? Wright gets the visual. 6 jets in formation, climbing now, lining up for an attack run. He knows what they are as soon as he sees the shape. J-21 Jastrebs, training aircraft, light attackers. In an F-16, it's the kind of matchup that doesn't even feel like a fight. Speed, climb, sensors, weapons, pick a category. The F-16s push the throttles forward and start closing. Right's mind goes to the pattern they've been living under for weeks. Show of force, visual warning, shepherd them out. Then the radio cuts through again. Black Flight, targets have released ordnance. You are cleared to engage. Weapons free. Right's thumb moves to the selector without any drama. Pure procedure. Roger, moving to engage. A pause. Then Alan, quieter now. This is going to be shooting fish in a barrel. No one answers that. Below them, 6 pilots have already dropped their bombs. Whatever the mission was, they've done it. Now they're just trying to get home. The 6 Jastrebs come in low and dirty, then pop just enough to release. 6 bombs, 550 pounds each, dropping from different angles. Old jets, old tactics, still plenty of explosive. The weapons factory below takes the hits. A stagger of blasts, dust and debris lifting off the roofs. Vukmirovic comes up on the radio, steady. Target is hit. Copy. Objective complete. Turn for home. For maybe 10 seconds, there's this thin sense of relief. Not pride, just the part of your brain that says, we did the job. Now, we leave. They bank toward home. On a modern jet, this is where the warning would start. Tones, lights, a voice in your headset telling you someone has you painted. These aircraft don't have that. So the first sign Crnalić gets isn't a beep. It's a flash in his peripheral vision, violent and bright, right where his wingman should be. For a heartbeat, he thinks it's him. Then the shape next to him is just gone. Half a wing ripped away, the jet tumbling out of the sky like it's been unplugged. Vukmirovic's voice slices through. Americans behind us! Scatter! Run! The 5 remaining Jastrebs break hard, each one diving for the deck, using terrain like it's armor. Valleys, ridges, anything that forces the fighters to follow them down. Behind them, the F-16s split up. Not panicked, not rushed, just selecting targets. Crnalić throws his jet into a dive so steep his altimeter spins. Hills rise on both sides as he threads into a valley. Too low for comfort, too fast to think. He risks a glance back. There it is, an F-16 tucked in behind him like it's attached by a wire. Crnalić keys his mic. He's on my tail. From somewhere behind him, a calm voice on a different radio net. A short call. Missile away. Crnalić sees it in the mirror, a white spear streaking in, heat-seeking, locked on his engines. He shoves the Jastreb even lower until the world becomes a blur of trees and rock. Transmission wires flick past beneath him, close enough that he feels the stupidity of it, and does it anyway because there's nothing else. The missile detonates near the wires. The shockwave slaps the aircraft. Something tears. The tail jerks sideways. Warning lights bloom across his panel. The jet is wounded, but still flying. I'm hit. I can't shake him. He tries the radio again. Nothing. Dead. He looks back, waiting for the second shot, the one that ends the argument. But the F-16 is turning away. Crnalić doesn't understand it. He doesn't have time to. He just keeps the nose down and keeps moving, alone in the valleys, with no idea what's happening to the other 4. Somewhere else in those hills, Mikerovic and Pesic are running together, tight, fast, trying to stay glued to the terrain. It doesn't matter. An F-16 sits behind them, closing like gravity. Not yanking, not dancing, just steadily erasing distance. A quick call on the radio. Another missile off the rail. Pesic is still scanning, still trying to pick the fighter out of the sky when the missile finds him. The Jastreb doesn't go down like in movies. It just stops being one aircraft. 1 second it's a jet, the next it's fragments and smoke. Mikerovic, and then nothing. Mikerovic brakes hard. Any turn he can force, any ridge he can use, but the F-16 has options he doesn't. Another shot follows. This one catches his engines. The rear of the aircraft erupts. Fire pours out and immediately starts winning. The cockpit fills with the smell of heat and burning metal. I'm hit! I'm on fire! he shouts, half report, half reflex. He pulls back, trying to buy altitude, not to fight, just to get high enough to survive what comes next. Flames creep forward. The jet is dying underneath him. He grabs the canopy handle and yanks. The canopy blows off. Wind slams into him. Then the seat kicks and the world drops away. His parachute snaps open. Below, his aircraft hits the ground and breaks into a rolling fireball. At least he's alive. South of all this, Vukmirović and Zadić have been listening to the radio as voices vanish, one after another, until it's mostly static and breathing. Then an F-16 appears over the hills behind them. "Behind us!" Zadić calls. A missile launches. It detonates close enough that Vukmirović feels the concussion through the airframe. Shrapnel rattles somewhere. Somehow, it doesn't finish him. He looks back, bracing for the follow-up. The F-16 turns away. Zadic's voice is careful now, like he doesn't trust what he's seeing. "He's breaking off. Are we clear?" For 5 seconds, they almost believe it. Then Vukmirović looks up, and his tone changes instantly. "2 more incoming. Run!" Fresh F-16s drop into the chase. New angles, new energy, the kind of timing that tells you the net is tightening. Vukmirović and Zadić dive again, treetops ripping past beneath them. The fighters shadow them, staying just close enough to make sure the fear never fades. No way to outrun them, no way to outturn them. So Vukmirović goes to the last trick left. "Follow me." He points his Jastreb straight at a cliff face and pours on full throttle. "We pull up late," he says, like he's talking himself into it. "As late as possible." The cliff rushes closer, filling the windscreen. Zadić stays tucked in behind him because breaking formation now doesn't buy anything. "Pull up!" Both pilots haul back. G-forces crush them into their seats. The jets claw upward at the last instant. Vukmirović clips the ground. Just a touch. Enough. The aircraft bursts into flame and cartwheels across the earth. No ejection, no chute. Zadić is alone. He dives again, trying to use the smoke and chaos as cover, but the F-16s punch through behind him. Another missile, another hit. His jet catches fire. Control goes soft in his hands. He pulls the canopy and ejects. Too low, far too low. The parachute starts to open, but there isn't time for it to do its job. He falls into the wreck in the fire of his own aircraft. And Crnalić still doesn't know any of this. Crnalić's radio has been dead since that first blast near the wires. No calls, no warnings, no voices cutting out. Just him and the instrument panel. He keeps flying low because going higher feels like signing a form. Hydraulic pressure keeps bleeding away. The controls start to feel soft, like the jet is thinking about what you asked it to do before it finally does it. Fuel needle bouncing, never staying in one place long enough to trust. Every shadow on the ridgeline could be an F-16. Every distant roar makes him check his mirrors. He isn't really heading home anymore. Not in a straight line, not with any confidence. He's buying minutes. That's the honest version. The aircraft shudders. He corrects, holds it level. Part of him knows the smart move is to eject while he still has altitude and a chance. Another part, the stubborn part, keeps his hands on the stick, keeps forcing the broken jet to stay in the air. His fingers are shaking. He notices it and hates that he notices it. Tries to steady them. Doesn't work. Sweat runs into his eyes. The cockpit feels too hot, or maybe his body just can't cool down anymore. He checks the mirror again. Still clear. So he keeps going. Low, quiet, waiting to learn whether he's already the last one left. He hears it before he sees it. That deep, clean roar, close enough that it feels physical. The F-16 blasts past his canopy, so close he could track the shape of the pylons, maybe even count what's still hanging under the wings. Crnalić's heart drops straight through his stomach. The American swings wide, then comes back around. No hesitation, no warning, just positioning. Crnalić knows what that means. His only move is the same one as before. Climb. Get altitude. Give himself a chance to eject before the missile arrives. His hand finds the canopy emergency handle again. Wraps tight. Squeezes. He's waiting for the flash, the impact, the sudden silence. The F-16 settles behind him, perfectly lined up. Crnalić can almost feel the lock, even without a warning system. He counts again without trying. 3, 2, 1. Nothing. No hit. The F-16 slides up alongside instead, matching speed like they're in formation, wingtip to wingtip. 20 feet, maybe less. Crnalić turns his head and looks across that gap. The American pilot is looking right back at him. For a moment, it doesn't feel like opposing air forces, or a no-fly zone, or a mission log. Just two men in two cockpits, watching each other through glass. The American raises his hand, slow, deliberate, a salute, clean, formal, held long enough that Crnalić can't pretend he imagined it. 3 full seconds. Then the F-16 rolls away and disappears into the distance. Crnalić stays there with his hand still locked on the handle, trying to understand the simplest part of it. The American had him. Damaged jet, dead radio, no way out, and he chose to leave. Why? Crnalić keeps the wounded Jastreb flying for another half hour, mostly by refusing to let it quit. When the runway finally comes into view, it doesn't feel like victory. It feels like permission. He lands hard and rolls out. The jet shudders to a stop, like it's been holding itself together out of spite. Ground crew runs up and just stares. Torn stabilizer, scorch marks, holes punched into the fuselage, damage that looks like it should have ended in a crater. Crnalić climbs down, and his legs don't want to cooperate. Somebody asks what happened. He opens his mouth, then closes it. Because how do you say it out loud without sounding insane? Finally, he manages. The American. He was right there. He had me. They wait for the rest. He saluted me. Then he left. Nobody has a response ready for that. Years later, Crnalić would try to explain it the only way he could. No politics, no rage, just the plain line. I don't have bad feelings toward the American pilots. We had our task, they had theirs. But that still leaves the real question sitting in the middle of the story. Why did Robert Wright let him live? By the end of that day, Wright was credited with 3 aerial victories, 3 kills in one mission, a number American pilots almost never get in modern air wars. One more would have made it 4. Crnalić had a damaged aircraft, a dead radio, no warning systems, and no realistic way to escape. Wright had position, speed, missiles, and clearance to fire. All he had to do was press the button. He didn't. People have tried to fill in the reason. Respect, mercy, professionalism, maybe even a split-second human reflex that wasn't planned. The problem is, none of those are facts. They're guesses. Wright never publicly explained it. No long interview, no neat quote to hang on the moment. So what we're left with is the only thing that's undeniable: the salute itself. By the end of that morning, 3 of the 6 Bosnian Serb pilots never came home. Ranko Vukmirović, Goran Zarić, and Pesic. Mikerović survived. He got out in time and came down under parachute. And Crnalić brought a dying aircraft back to the runway. History files it under a simple label, the Banja Luka Incident, February 28, 1994, the first combat engagement in NATO's history. In the official accounting, Robert Wright was credited with 3 shootdowns, Stephen Allen with 1. Strategically, it didn't end the war. It didn't suddenly change the trajectory of Bosnia. The conflict kept grinding forward the way wars do. But inside the larger violence, there's that smaller moment that refuses to fit neatly into a report. Because war has a way of turning people into symbols. A radar return, a target, a threat, a number on a screen. That salute said something else. It said, "I see you," not as a problem to solve, as a person in a cockpit trying to survive the day. And once you notice that, it's hard to unnotice what it implies about everyone trapped in the sky that morning. Crnalić flying home with his hands still shaking. Wright peeling away from a perfect shot, knowing that no one would have questioned him if he took it. We like clean stories in war. Clear heroes, clear villains, clean reasons. Real events don't always cooperate. Sometimes the person trying to kill you is still just a person doing what he thinks the job requires. And sometimes, for 3 seconds, someone chooses a different kind of professionalism, a different kind of honor. Nothing cinematic, nothing loud, just a hand raised, held steady, then gone. That's why this story stuck, because it doesn't argue that war is good. It argues that even inside war, you can still catch a glimpse of what war is trying to erase. And if you're honest, that's the part that lingers. On paper, this incident gets reduced to one clean line: NATO's first air combat. A no-fly zone violation. A few jets shot down. That's the version that fits in a textbook. If you look closer, it's a different kind of record. 6 pilots who took off knowing the odds. 3 who never came back. 1 who got out under a parachute. 1 who limped a broken jet home on stubbornness and luck. And 1 American pilot who had a clear, legal shot and chose not to take the last one. Here's the part I can't get past. You're in the F-16. You're faster, higher, untouchable. Your rules of engagement are already settled. The enemy jet in front of you is damaged, slow, and alone. So what matters more in that moment? Mission discipline? Personal restraint? A sense of enough? And if you choose to let him go, what do you tell yourself afterward? Crnalić survived the war and went on to live a normal life. He never framed it as hatred, just duty on both sides. Wright went on with his career too, and as far as the public record goes, he never really explained that salute. Maybe he didn't need to, because the salute is the explanation we're left with. A brief reminder that even in a sky full of missiles and rules, a person can still make a choice that isn't tactical. Thank you for staying with this one. If you want more stories like this, real events, real machines, but told through the people inside them, subscribe. We'll keep digging for the moments history usually skips.